on getting clients from my brokerage firm. So I would go out and go on financial television shows and talk about the markets and talk about investments.
You're a pretty good salesman, Peter.
Right, but in the process of doing that, a lot of very young people who have no money to invest, couldn't care less that I run a brokerage firm, are still attracted to my message. They read what I write, they read my books, they go to their website, even though they don't have any money to send me. And when I go to these things like Freedom Fest, and I'm mobbed by people who want autographs and want their pictures taken with me, generally they're young. They're not the older people. So there are a lot of young people out there. Hopefully they can actually write some checks. I mean, that's the problem. But maybe they can offer their support, and you can also check on that website if you're willing to volunteer. We can gauge the number of people who will come to Connecticut and help me. I think I should be able to get a lot more volunteers than the other Republicans who stand for nothing.
And a lot more than Don. I hope you factor that into your decision,
yeah,
sir.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another thing that we're doing at the grassroots level. There are a number of initiatives to get you guys elected, to get you the money you need and the support you need, the volunteers. So
well, put the word out on Break the Matrix. Get my
website. You guys have supporters you didn't even know about.
Lew
Rockwell, present company excluded. Is the Republican Party an available or legitimate vessel through which to channel money, efforts, and candidates to return the government to its rightful place in America?
Well, Judge, I think one thing we have to remember, and I don't think this is necessarily true in the distant past, today the Republican Party is a branch of the federal government. It's not some sort of independent organization, in my view, that can be taken over by insurgents. Now, yes, good people can be elected, preeminently Ron Paul. We hope others are going to be elected as well. But, no, I don't see the Republican Party as being a vehicle, or the Democratic Party, or, and this is my own prejudice, or electoral politics.
Well,
I think that
no hope,
I think
then,
the change has to come in the climate of opinion.
Peter Schif asks, does that mean we have no hope, Lew Rockwell?
No, I think have never had any hope in politics. I mean, just look at Obama, look at Bush, look at all these guys. I mean, ever since the Republican Party was founded by Lincoln and Company, it's been far from a vessel for freedom. It's been the vessel of the opposite. So I think that we don't have any hope in politics, no. When we change the climate of opinion, then politics will change, then Washington will change. But I don't think top-down change is possible.
We are chatting with Lew Rockwell from the Von Mises Institute, Adam Kokesh, Sergeant Adam Kokesh, United States Marine Corps, who's running for Congress from New Mexico, Shelley Roche, my sidekick, and Peter Schif from Euro-Pacific Capital. Will candidates take this pledge? Will they sign an agreement pledging to uphold certain small government, constitutional, natural law, free market principles? Well, or are you and Peter the only two in the country who will do this?
Well, no, there are more, and there's, I just signed the 9/12 pledge for Glenn Beck's group, and I'm really excited about that. But there's also Retake Congress, which has a pledge that is kind of similar to the one that Ron Paul had for the independent presidential candidates. And I think if we bring the pressure to bear, and this is where online activism is so important, getting people to put pressure on candidates, you can corner them into simple pledges. But, Lew, I'm not willing to wait for the system to collapse. I'm not willing to give up on the American political system. I think the wisdom of the founders in giving us the system that we have needs to be exploited in order to preserve America as a vision of liberty. And but the electoral system is secondary to the awareness raising, because America will not be free again, will not embrace those values until Americans from the ground up, from the cultural level, embrace the values of liberty.
Well, if we talk about the Founding Fathers, we might as well talking about people from Mars for all the relevance they have to the current American regime. This is the biggest, richest, most powerful government in the history of the world, the biggest empire. It has nothing to do with Thomas Jefferson.
But the vision. The
bigger they are, the harder they fall.
Peter Schif, I can't even imagine how the Republicans in Connecticut will greet you if the people that run the party apparatus will greet you when and if you enter the primary.
Well, my hope is that the people in Connecticut, want a Republican elected, because there hasn't been a Republican senator in Connecticut for 20 years.
And that wasn't even a real Republican.
Correct. And there isn't a single member of the House in Connecticut. In fact, there isn't a single member of the House or Senate in all of New England. And I think if the Republicans nominate another run-of-the-mill rhino Republican that, as bad as Dodd is, a year from now, he still might be able to win re-election. And so if they just want to, if they want to nominate another loser, But if they want to nominate me, I think I've actually got a real chance of beating Dodd because I can appeal to a lot of people that mainstream Republicans can't. And I have a history of being critical of the Republican Party in its current form and pointing out how it shares the blame for the predicament we're in. And instead of just saying, let's go back to the old Republicans, which helped produce this mess, let's change the Republican Party and actually have the change that Barack Obama promised. He ran on change and delivered more of the same. I want people to send me to Congress so that I can make sure there is change and actually, get into the Senate. And since, I'm not going to care about getting reelected, I'm not going to spend any time trying to get reelected. So I'll be able to focus my attention on solving these problems and returning to my civilian job.
Shelley, do we have any tweets or emails for Lew Rockwell, Peter Schif, or Adam Kokesh?
Well, one of the things we were talking about the young people, here's a comment from Eric P. Latham. Young people love to experience feelings we've never experienced. We have no idea what true liberty feels like. And I think that's one of the reasons that the young people are getting so involved is that we feel like we can actually make a difference at this point. And we've been told that we can't. And that
I get good emails from high school students. Kids that are 12, 13, 14, not only in America. I've got students emailing me from all over the world.
Well, Lew, the last time I was privileged to be down at Van Mises. I don't know what the average age of the audience was, but the crowd is very, very young. Does the attractiveness and allurement of freedom and the freedom movement, for lack of a better phrase, to young people give you some hope?
Oh, Judge, it sure does, and I think I know from my own experience from 25 or 30 years ago till today, there's a vast increase in interest in liberty among young people, just vast. Both in interest and in knowledge of. We only have to look at the Ron Paul campaign. I see it all over the country on all the campuses. There's a huge difference. So yeah, there's great reason to hope, and this is I think where indeed the hope does lie. America's young people.
Adam Kokesh, you don't speak like the typical Marine. Or are there Marines? Are there people in the military? Are there 27-year-olds who have fought in this unlawful war who agree with you?
Well, I stopped cussing when I put the tie on. It's kind of an automatic thing for me. But the talk about the freedom movement. We are young, we are strong, we are a movement. We're not going anywhere. What we're calling for is no less than a revolution. It is a paradigm shift towards embracing the values of liberty. And there are a lot of Marines out there who get this because in the military, we swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United
and every
States
congressman
first.
swears an oath to the same document. But one of the facts that a lot of the media kind of ignored during the election was that Ron Paul raised more money from active military personnel than any other candidate in the race.
All of them put together.
Including the present president. Than anybody running.
So obviously there's support, and they tried to make him the enemy of the troops, but he had more support among the troops than any of his opponents.
I get emails from people too that are on active duty over in Iraq, and they tell me they watch the show and they watch the videos and they get really excited, and they're actually talking to their friends about it and their fellow servicemen and women, and they tell me that it's starting to happen over there.
Lew Rockwell, do you think there could be a Barry Goldwater among us? I'm reminiscing about that time in 1964, great, heady times when Principal took over the Republican Party. It obviously didn't last, but those were great days. Might something or someone like that be lurking around the corner or even in our midst?
Well, it's very possible, and I was involved in the Goldwater campaign, and I remember it very well, and of course I loved Barry, like all of us. So, I don't know, is it even possible Ron Paul will be a candidate in 2012? He says no, but I don't think we know that for sure.
How aggressive, Lew Rockwell, do you think the Treasury Department is going to get in its efforts to examine the books, control the hiring, control the firing, and direct the investments in private corporations? The Ayn Rand definition of fascism, private ownership, government control.
Well, I think we already have that to some extent, and of course the change towards the total state is taking place at just an enormous rate, and I think they are, they're moving very, very fast. But we have to remember also how far we've come. In this book you mentioned earlier, The Vampire Economy, Günter Riemann talks about one of the horrible things that the National Socialists did in Germany. He said, do you know that they changed the law whereas by the tax authorities could just go into any business and demand to see the books? He says, what an outrage. This is a totalitarian outrage. Well, indeed it was, and it is a totalitarian outrage. So already we have a very unfree economy. It's only really a semi-free economy, and as Mr. Obama and company take us further, it's getting less free by the moment.
Peter Schif, whether